What's up, guys? It's SJU. It's Wednesday, I think. Dan,
Yes.
Spencer, Ed, I'm Joe, and I've had Bare Naked Ladies 1 week in my head all morning.
Wow.
It's its own special form of torture. No! Oh, chickadee China! No, no! We're talking biopics today. Rocketman's coming out this weekend, so we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on biopics. And we're going to hit some fan questions. We're going to talk about what single performance changed your mind on an actor. And by popular demand, we're going to talk about food some more. So let's jump into Rocketman. Comes out this weekend, debuted at Cannes May 16th.
Cannes!
Cannes! It was just Cannes!
It was just Cannes.
That's the silent.
Yeah, no, it's always Cannes. Always Cannes.
Fair enough.
If they didn't want to say an S, they wouldn't put an S there, Dan.
Hey, what do you want
Tell
to
it to
say?
the French, Joe. Don't. It's why
It's why
man.
I always pronounce my IE as hard as I can in words.
For the record, I love Cannes. Her sweet, sweet Cannes.
Well, it's better than being like a French movie festival. Cannes! It's better than that.
There you go.
It received a standing ovation at Cannes. It's been released released in the UK as of May 22nd. Releases wide here May 31st. This is the big sort of, I guess, Oscar outing for Eggsy from Kingsman.
Eggsy.
From Eggsy. He's starring as Elton John. Sort of the movie's anchoring around musical numbers during pivotal points in his life. So far, the tomato meter on it, super positive. No audience score there. Is anybody excited about this one? Do people feel burned by the Queen movie?
Well, I'm excited that Dexter Fletcher gets to actually direct one of these, considering that he's the one that came in and did the saved. I'm not gonna say saved, but he's the one that came in when Bryan Singer disappeared and did the last part of Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, mm-hmm. So he was turned down for that job. They took this job, and then they came back to him and was like, we have no one here. Can you come do this?
Crawling back.
So I'm excited for him to potentially get maybe the same amount of credit, but actually credited on this movie. Yeah, I mean, Elton is involved. Mm-hmm. So that's always a little but he seems like somebody that's fairly self-aware of his life and pushed for it to be harder edge, pushed for it to be R-rated, didn't necessarily want to make it glossy and pretty. So I'm excited to see it, and I've heard that it's very visually dynamic, that it's not just a straightforward musical biopic, that it's it goes kind of ethereal, and I'm interested.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a lot about, especially after We Will Rock You came out, sort of that balance of can you be involved in your biopic because you're sort of getting to write and present your own history.
Yeah. I was really intrigued for this. I wish the same had been said by the members of Queen, because Elton said, this couldn't be a PG-13 movie. I have not led a PG-13 life. So I think that...
You don't think there's going to be any scenes of Elton being like, I can't drink beers, you guys?
No, well, yeah,
Freddie
Mercury, are you abusing a beer again?
I have to go save some orphans from a burning building.
Yeah, too many beers. My wife doesn't want me to hang out with you and your wild beer parties.
Gotta go to church.
That's the bad version of what can happen if they're too involved. But this is really exciting. Apparently has very graphic sex with he's in the Richard Madden, with Rob Stark, and it seems like they're kind of unmooring it from reality in these kind of fantastical musical numbers, which is I got to see Elton John for the first time. I was not a huge fan, but he came to Los Angeles, and when a legend comes into town, you check him out. Mm-hmm. He puts on such an incredible show at 70-something years old that this is as close as I'll get to seeing him in his prime, short of actually watching all the footage that exists.
Is that the way to go? Because I think that sums it up really well. It's do you care about the daily nitty-gritty of Elton John's life, or do you care more about leaning into the surreal and the spectacle? And
I mean, we can. I'm sure we'll get into this later, but I don't need my musical biopics to really capture the reality of their lives, just the spirit and the feeling of their music. I'm not looking at these as historical documents, so we'll talk more about that later.
Right on. So obviously there's been like a lot of great musical biopics. There's Amadeus, there's Selena, there's Straight Outta Compton. Do you guys have favorites? Let's go positive, and then we'll just start ripping the bad ones apart. Ed, say something nice.
I mean, no, my favorite musical biopic is Dewey Cox. Walk Hard.
It's
because you know what? It just takes the. Yeah, well, it just takes the.
Let him have it.
What's it called? What? Walk Hard. Yeah. Right?
Walk the line.
But
is the. Never mind.
real
Dewey
one.
Cox is real.
yeah, Dewey Cox is real, and he's a very real artist. He came up with the Beatles, for Christ's sake. I mean, did you not see the movie? He was jamming.
Yeah.
You know, he knew John Lennon. Told him not to smoke that weed, you know. But I just got to say, personally, I saw Straight Outta Compton, and as a person who listened to that music, and when I heard that Wu-Tang was going to do their own show, I was like, oh my God, Wu-Tang, please don't have some weird scene where it's like, man, we trying to take over the rap game, but we need a gimmick. Ching, 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 ching. Look. Kung Fu movies. What if I sampled that? I don't need that scene because like Straight Outta Compton, because they were involved and because some of the screenwriters, like probably my age and my demographic, let's say, would remember different things about NWA that weren't quite so savory. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And they weren't just these rebels fighting the cops. I mean, the homeboy beat up D Brown and little stuff like that are totally omitted. That they can just have these toy screenwriters just do their bidding. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of tell the biopics that are like that. Where it's just like, hey, cut all the crust off the sandwich of my story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just that sucks. So if we're gonna have these fake scenes where it's like nothing but a G thing came together in 2 minutes. 2 minutes to make nothing but a G thing. Just I got this bass line. Yeah, come on, now, Snoop, just kick a freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is the best.
He counted.
Oh God! If we're gonna endure the fakeness of that sort of scene, why not have the walls fly out and freaking Cuckoo walrus or whatever the hell, and the yellow submarine comes through the wall and the room fills with water.
Which it kind of seems like what they're gonna do.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If we're gonna get nuts like that and do this fakeology, at least be artful about it. Is what I'm saying.
And I love most of Straight Outta Compton. I guess the first 2 acts, everything up until until after the Detroit concert where they escape in the bus and stuff like that. And then it kind of becomes like. Just kind of like a highlight reel of like, oh, here's the time they met Snoop, and then here's, like it started getting. The more recent it got, the less interesting it got because they were just like showing off like cameos. Basically,
well, they started walking the line.
Yeah, as it were. They started walking the line. They might as well have had them like shake Clinton's hand and or whatever.
Or like Reagan. Yeah. Well, they did, didn't they? As I recall, like they dramatized at least somewhat Eazy-E meeting the president.
Yeah.
Which Ice Cube famously dissed later. I never have dinner with the president. So.
So yeah, I mean, granted, those things really happened, but probably not the way that they did. And they just feel like they need to put them in there. It goes from a movie to like a TV show of like, oh, here's the episode where they met this person. Here's the episode where this thing.
Or like
came
a
out.
kid's
And
book
like,
report.
Yeah.
And then they.
Exactly. And which is like also true to life because people's lives don't have 3-act structure. That's why I think it's kind of nice. When
Well, like it walked the line. They admitted the fact that Johnny Cash got kicked by an ostrich and almost died because it ain't cinematic. It's just not.
I disagree. Honestly, if the Johnny Cash biopic had come out and the whole thing was just about the ostrich chapter, and they didn't do the scene where they're like, "Do you have anything else, Johnny?"
they could have at least done it in like a dream sequence or a drug trip or something like that. Like, do you see an ostrich?
Yeah.
Also, at the premiere, one of my favorite clips is when Joaquin Phoenix is clearly on shrooms or something in the premiere and asks the interviewee if there's a frog in his hair.
Even if you didn't like Walk the Line, which I do, I enjoy that movie, it gave us that. And it
Walk the Line did give us, the
frog and
red
frog
carpet.
and hair.
Just want to check, is there a frog in my hair?
Yeah.
Like, no. What are you talking about?
Hey, man.
Well, I'm just down for anything that moves us past the do a goofy reenactment and have some actor do an impression of the person. Like, and the best one of those, in my personal opinion, that I've seen in recent years is Ray. I feel like Ray has that same sort of walk the line slash walk the line is the same structure as It. I don't know which one came out first. I think Ray did. But the bottom line is, but yeah, it was a great impression by Jamie Foxx of Ray Charles. It seemed to capture a certain spirit, and they kind of went down the line of all these different kind of unsavory things about the character. I kind of love when these guys allow their story or things, machinations occur to allow for us to find out maybe that Elton John was quite selfish in his early days and quite fearful of coming out and all these different things that frankly would need to be dramatized in a satisfying movie, and it seems like they're going to do that, plus fly the walls and have all the spectacle.
Yeah.
So I'm
an
kind
army of
intrigued
tiny
by it.
dancers march in and tiny dance.
He's such a punchline now, but Gary Busey is so good in the Buddy Holly story. It was like his,
I hadn't even
one of
thought
his
about that in a
first
long time.
big things. He is like really good in that movie. You talk about people say like, oh, People's Lives don't have a 3-act structure. Buddy Holly's one of the few that did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, tragically, but that is just lends itself to a movie so well, and it's really good. The old rock and roll biopic. It's crazy. It was an HBO movie, and it's nuts. Behind the Candelabra.
Oh yeah.
Liberace with Michael Douglas and Matt Damon and
Rob
oh my
Lowe.
God, Rob Lowe. Just watch the Rob Lowe parts if you
Just
don't want to
Rob
watch
Lowe.
the whole movie. But that's I think that's one that's just sort of embracing the craziness of the subject matter and leaning into it. And then there's a very old movie with James Cagney called Yankee Doodle Dandy. It's about George M. Cohan, who was a big part of like the early Broadway scene and wrote a lot of very popular, they're now standards, but it's really old classic Hollywood showmanship. And most people knew James Cagney is like you dirty rat, top of the gangster, and to see him as most actors were back then, he was a multi-talented person. He could sing, he could dance, he could do everything. And so that's one that's one of those that was maybe a bigger deal 20 or 30 years ago that over time has sort of gotten further and further in the rearview mirror. But that's where if you ever heard my mother thanks you, my father thanks you, and most of all, I thank you. That came from that movie. You probably haven't.
No, I
one's heard of it.
honestly never even heard of that movie. Hadn't thought about the Buddy Holly story in a long time.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing those B-sides. They're important.
They're A-sides. They're A-sides,
A-sides.
Joe.
I was trying to make
they
like a
are
music joke.
A-sides.
Instead of deep cut, I was trying to. It didn't work. Yeah, I feel like the really good biopics are the ones that either focus on tone or like what the movie wants to accomplish instead of just like events. Like I think Selena is a really good biopic because like the whole point of that movie I feel is to be like, we're gonna celebrate the hell out of Selena and like what she meant to people and like the positivity she brings to people's lives. So I think that one really works as opposed to like and then point A and then point B. Or you just have something insane like Amadeus, which is like, I guess, the Braveheart of musical biopics. It's like, it's based on a legend.
Yeah, Amadeus is a. I think I've said it on the show before. Amadeus is a incredible movie and a terrible biopic.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the most inaccurate biopics of all time that also happens to be an incredibly entertaining and
But at that
amazing
point,
movie.
just like throw out the pretense, because I really like 8 Mile. I don't like Eminem. I don't care for his raps. He annoys me. I know it's
Spencer,
I know
was
it's
the voice
good.
of a generation.
Are you telling me you're the one white suburban kid from the early 2000s
Yes.
that wasn't into Eminem?
Yes.
Spencer, don't you realize that white kids are mad?
I'm aware of our anger issues.
Spencer's a daywalker.
Yeah. And now I'm gonna really infuriate white kids because he's like the rap equivalent of like prog rock to me, of like a 9-minute guitar solo, where it's like I respect the talent and the intricacy of what you're doing, but I don't want to listen to it.
Eminem is the Rush of rap.
I do like Rush.
Oh, Rush, you like?
See, your Venn diagram is showing.
But just abandon the Eminem story, but also do the Eminem story that he wishes he had,
Right.
or the one
Yeah.
the cleaned up, like more linear, the rise and fall and then rise again.
I hooked
Even
up with
though-
Brittany Murphy in a factory
Yeah.
and then had the ultimate rap
And
battle.
I know there's
Yeah.
so much overlap between reality and fiction in that one, but like with I don't think Amadeus would be any worse if it was, Boatsart and Schmalieri. Boatsart.
Can't wait for the next Boatsart movie. Well, then it could have been a franchise.
Yeah.
He could have been in space by now.
Well, you could do 8 Mile. You could do 9 Mile or whatever with.
I'd watch 9 Mile.
Yeah, with just the MTV Video Awards, and then the Detox era, and like, God, yeah, not a fan.
The heavy era.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 8 Mile. That one's like a football movie for me, where I'm just like, ignore, rap battle, because football movies, I'm like, ignore. Okay, they're playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He rap battles the Falcon in that movie.
Well,
great.
it's hard to, and that's why I like.
Costume.
On your left.
Well, no, that's why I like documentaries better. Because, like I said, I've mentioned it 3 times already, but the Wu-Tang documentary that's on Showtime right now is a masterpiece. It's really great. Not only did they have the hubris to be taping each other with video cameras in 1991 while they were doing ciphers and stuff, so we get some great footage of that. But it really just shows that, like, making music is really like a matter of somebody having a lot of vision and a lot of people contributing to that vision, and then that person kind of going off and doing stuff and making it happen. Even with the Beatles, there's people who argue who was the point of attack of it, who was the one who organized everything into that final form. That's so awesome. So I really think that documentaries do a better job.
Blink-182, it's Travis.
Yeah.
It's Travis.
Yeah, documentaries do a better job of showing that. Hey, with the Fugees, it was Wyclef. People didn't know that, but it was Wyclef holding it down.
Not
What if it was
just
Proswell?
one time, all time.
What did Pros do?
What if it was Proswell? What if Proswell was the mastermind? The RZA of the Fugees was Proswell.
That's why he doesn't show up as much. He's busy ordering lunch and
Dude, I'm
getting
busy.
everybody there on time.
I'm infrastructure Proswell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
He's like, my verses are shorter. Wyclef, say one time a few more times.
Stall. I'll be in the studio. I'll be in the studio in a minute.
That's how we got Welcome to the Carnival. Pros was like, stall. I gotta handle some stuff for the group.
Maria. Yeah.
So let's moving away from musical biopics. I feel like we've been talking a little bit about sort of what makes a biopic work. It's like a good mix of maybe ridiculous and here's some poignant events. Like, to me, that's why the Queen, not to just harp on it, but it's recent and it's in my head, because that one just tried to be like, here are events, but then the events were kind of like watered down and also just edited poorly, except for the thing at the
It
end.
was just made to be really a feel-good movie, and I think that there's
a place for that.
There's a
It's
place
fine.
for feel-good movies that are just kind of a jukebox musical. Like, they're stringing together all the songs you like. I think that the tragedy of the Queen one is that there is such a more interesting story to tell. But at the end of the day, like, it's a mediocre, crowd-pleasing movie. I was pleased. I was part of that crowd.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys. Are there any? Let's talk about jukebox movies for a second. Like, are there any good ones that you dig where you kind of take out the biopic and it is just like Beyond the Universe is maybe one of the only ones I can think of. That one's a little rough because that one's literally people walking up to folks and queuing up songs with lines of dialogue like,
Yeah.
"Hey Jude, why are you so sad? Someone should ask Jude why he's sad."
Yeah.
Okay.
They're usually not good.
Dears.
Yeah, has anybody seen Eleanor Rigby? I mean, she seems really lonely. And she's just panning up to her window.
Okay, what are the let's talk tropes.
Let's eat at the octopus's garden.
Anybody seen my yellow submarine?
No, we
Where's
don't
my
want to sing that song.
submarine?
Yeah.
Who painted the worst tropes? Let's. Dewey Cox breaks them down really well. Freddie Mercury's got to think of his whole life before he sings. What are the worst tropes in biopics?
For me, it's when they basically pause the movie because at one point they met someone else famous, and it's just like, It is that meeting Reagan moment or meeting Snoop in the studio when he hasn't been part of the story at all to that point. It's
Hayes
just
featured extra, who all of a sudden will change the course of this movie.
yeah, it's always when they bump into somebody else of the time, and it has nothing to do with the plot, but that really happened. So it's like, well, isn't it cool? They met Elvis, and hey there, you kids keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
those are annoying.
I agree. The thing
It's usually Elvis too.
I enjoyed Straight Outta Compton, but there was like 10% too much of that in the sense of just like I'm writing a screenplay called Friday. Like I know, I get it. Yes, I remember that. That doesn't necessarily have to be in this movie. That I get it. I understand. But,
Do you remember when you had to tuck your chain in because a large man would steal it from you?
Right.
Debo. Yes.
Recall.
Stay Debo.
Yeah.
Are we there yet?
It's like Kermit meme of just the arms filling and typing.
Yeah, so that's the shoehorning in of more references to things that you know happen but don't need. Yeah, generally the broader that you go, I'm not a fan of like the headline spinning, which Bohemian Rhapsody had like headline spinning montages of like London 1974, like the band on the rise montage. It's like okay, all right, I get it.
That one was great because you could tell that they, just because of how fraught the production was, they were like, we need to figure out a way to glue scenes together because we just don't have it. And so it was like, what if Gold Records spun?
Yeah.
Which was out of necessity. I'll give them that, but yeah, it's still rough when folks do that.
Yeah, I always hate the trope of like, I mean, most of these musicians have been doing mad drugs since they were like 12. But in the movie, it's always some scene where, you know, a guy looking like McGruff the crime dog comes and opens up a freaking trench coat full of syringes that are glowing.
Hey, Johnny Cash, do you want ecstasy, crack cocaine, weed?
Yeah.
In a pill?
Yeah, there's other scenes just like, oh, I'm so tired. The road has made me so weary.
The kid from RoboCop 2 shows up. Want to do nuke?
No, kid, I don't want to buy death sticks.
I'm
Johnny Cash.
Get on away from here. You don't want none of this.
Yeah.
I kind of hate that because like there are a lot of people who are living an existence that is kind of like they feel as though they have sort of a PTSD of sorts, like a lot of inner city people and stuff like that. And they're smoking weed every day from 11, and you know what I mean. And it's just like just a part of it. It isn't some grand slide. It's a part of a coping mechanism. I just wish more movies like what's that movie? Mid-90s. I think mid-90s was a really good. That was my 90s. I was too fat to skateboard, but all the rest of it, hanging out with white boys who love to say all types of words they shouldn't say, and
it was like a biopic of an era.
You know what I mean. That was my 90s. You know what I mean. So like, I can dig. I would love for movies to get into that. I think the new crop of them will be naturalistic like that, and really maybe show some of the warts because we're in such a social media generation that we know all of everybody's warts. It seems like we know how many times every rapper's gotten canceled and what for. And I think the next generation of biopic, the Drake biopic,
it's gonna be weird.
Get out of here, bro!
They're
gonna go to Toronto Stadium and show those scenes of him being manic on coke.
It's gonna be pretty boring. It's like the boy who was good to his mother.
They're jazzing up. His dad left and went off to play jazz in Germany or something, and he was always thinking, "How do I connect with my dad in Germany?" Rapping. He starts writing his raps. So I think the new generation of biopics would be pretty cool.
Okay, let's talk any biopics, not music, anything like that. Let's talk our leading folks. What are the most standout performances? Robert Downey Jr. in Chaplin for me is a pretty big one. He's pretty incredible in that movie. Very standout role.
Peter O'Toole in Lawrence of Arabia, one of the great film performances. Not an award-winning performances. Also not an award-winning performances. Most people say Denzel Washington and Malcolm X, and he is great in that movie. Denzel Washington in The Hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So good in that movie. That's the year where Russell Crowe won. In 1 year, Kevin Spacey was nominated for American Beauty. Russell Crowe was nominated for The Insider, and Denzel was nominated for The Hurricane, all in the same year. And all three of those performances should have won the Oscar for Best Actor. And because they couldn't declare it a three-way tie, coincidentally, the next 3 years, those three actors won the Oscar. Kevin Spacey won the Oscar for American Beauty. The next year, Russell Crowe won for Gladiator. Which, I understand, but Best Actor for Gladiator, he's good in that movie, but it was obviously he should have won it for The Insider.
Were you not entertained?
And the next year, Denzel won for Training Day, which again, great performance, but more about the Hurricane 2 years prior.
Lifetime Achievement Award, my friend. They love those towards the end.
He already had one, but it was from a long time before.
Well, that's supporting too, right?
Yeah, supporting, not lead. So. Denzel as Reuben Carter in The Hurricane is so good.
Yeah,
in that movie.
I love. It's Giamatti, right? That was American Splendor.
Yeah,
Harvey Picar.
Yes,
that's one of my favorite biopics, and I think an amazing way to weave in, fiction and reality when the guy's alive and willing is he's in the movie. The actual subject kind of takes over at certain points, and it's amazing because then you appreciate so much more what Paul Giamatti is doing. Because he doesn't look exactly like him, but he's nailing his mannerisms and just his attitude.
That was such a more visceral choice too than just showing pictures of the guy. At the end of the.
To just call it what it is, that they're very, it's kind of a meta, yep, this is a movie, cut, I'm going to walk over here and talk to the actual guy and see how I'm doing for a second was such a cool thing. And then, that other level of the comic book version of him. It's one of the best movies, I think, made about a real life subject.
Right on. Ed, you got any leads you like?
Oh, I mean, I really like Keanu Reeves playing the real life killer John
Dracula.
Wick.
Oh.
I just everybody's known about John Wick since they were little kids. We pass gold coins to each other and we talk about it, and he just really embodied the character.
The boogeyman.
People don't even remember that the Baba Yaga is real. They don't even remember that. That's no. Okay, I'm
Still
sorry.
real to me.
Sorry for that bit. I personally, I agree with Dan. But also, I do like.
For context, Ed came in screaming John Wick 3 over and over again.
Did you just see it this morning?
Dude, I had to. Okay, quick story. I bought a ticket to Endgame because I saw that the theater that I was going to go to was utterly empty. Ooh. I was going to be in the middle of the middle by myself for an Endgame screening. But I started breaking it down to myself. What am I going to enjoy more? A 10-minute earlier screening of John Wick with a few people, or being by myself and enjoying Endgame finally. And I canceled my ticket and I bought a ticket to John Wick.
Oh, a breakthrough about other people.
Yeah. I wanted
We're
to
be socialize you yet.
Dude, I wanted to be around people while they watch that knife fight. You know which one, guys. You know which one. I wanted to be around people watching that knife fight.
So really, what you're saying is confirmed that Disney's been buying out theaters for Endgame.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Because your theater was empty.
Yeah.
So
yesterday,
they
case closed.
Yesterday at 11 in the Valley. Let's be clear, because I tried to see it about an hour earlier and it was all gray, as in blocked up. But anyway,
because Disney got to it first.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying, as far as performances, I love Denzel Washington and Malcolm X. I said it before, I'll say it again, because he plays 6 different characters. When you very first meet him, he's a country bammer. He doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Then he goes in the city, gets his zoot suit on, gets his hair straightened. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be a little gangster. Then he gets to be a big gangster who's kind of eschewing some of that zoot suit jazz, being a real grown up gangster. Then he gets busted and goes to jail, becomes a malcontent in there, and slowly becomes an early convert of Islam. So that's 4 characters. Then he gets super into Islam and the white man is the devil and all this kind of stuff. And that's another character. And then the sort of enlightenment comes. And then, the period right before he's dead, that's 6 guys. That's 6 distinct guys with different speech patterns, different ways of moving. He's moving different towards the end because he gets more preacherly and more refined. It's an amazing performance that was crapped on in its day, mostly because people hate Spike Lee, and mostly because it was a 3-hour weird movie that wasn't.
Where do you pee with a 3-hour movie?
Yeah, in that movie, I don't know, because there's a lot. Most of the parts where they're just sitting down talking are really important.
Yeah,
because it's Malcolm X talking about Malcolm X stuff. So I don't know the P trap actor the P app
Run P.
Yeah, Run
P.
I don't know what that tells you. It's mate, right when he's getting his awakening, just go pee.
Yeah,
and then come back.
That's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know how many people's dads are obsessed with World War II, but. George C. Scott as Patton is burned into my head from young child. I don't remember anything about that movie except the speech in front of the flag.
but every time I close my eyes, there's a good chance that I see like some weird flash of George C. Scott as Patton.
I think the first time young me heard of Angela Bassett was What's Love Got to Do with It? As Tina Turner.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. That's the best one. That's the best one.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
That was my mom was a huge Tina Turner fan. I couldn't see the movie because it's rated R, but I remember it being a big deal, that movie. And she was. I will always remember her first as hearing about her. This is what 92, so I was 9, and What's Love Got to Do with It, and then. Meryl Streep's done like 80 of them, and she's always great.
Yeah.
Even Anna Wintour, even when it's not a biopic, like The Devil Wears Prada, she's still doing a real person. She's still doing Anna Wintour, or she's doing Margaret Thatcher.
Did you see what's it, Julia and Julia? What's it?
Yeah, Julia.
good one.
Yeah,
Julia Child.
I really like that because it was like her playing Julia Child's private life, her public life, but as well as her private life, where she was kind of a bawdy lady. You know, her and her husband were intensely sexual. They had a loving relationship. They had all this kind of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily associate with a chick who's putting thermometers in turkeys all the time or chopping her fingers off on live
But
TV.
maybe you
When
should
think
have
about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she gave a real inner life. Her and Nora Ephron's script gave a real inner life to Julia Child in that movie. I kind of liked her performance in there.
Well,
But Angela Bassett is the queen, though. That's a good
Yeah.
pull. That was a good pull.
So sort of talking about leads to take this back to Taron and Elton. Like a lot of people have gotten launched doing biopics. Jack Boseman in 42. You've got Jennifer Lopez, and then just people winning. Gary Busey, like you mentioned, and then just people winning awards and a lot of acclaim. Let's look at this one. If it's great or if it fails, how's that sort of affect Taron Egerton? I feel like this is sort of his play to be like, I'm not the parkour guy from Kingsman. I'm actually a really talented, well-rounded actor.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's going to get repeated 100 times is like he's really singing.
Yeah.
But he's really singing.
Yeah.
And if you show that you have that kind of gear in you, like that broadens your options so much more than just being a one franchise pony with the Kingsman, or because Robin Hood ain't getting no sequels.
No,
I know
no,
they
no.
ended it with what's that forest over there?
We'll never find out.
I guess we'll never know what forest it really was.
Medium John, what's that forest over there?
So
they told us to forget what we thought we knew, so I
Yeah, it
took
might
them
be
at their
completely
word, and they never resolved it.
It might be the woods by my parents' house. That'd be a weird twist.
Well, you know what's in the woods, classically.
Bears.
Remember Woods Porn?
Oh yeah. Oh, what's more?
I wasn't here for that.
Oh, you weren't here for Woods Porn. You guys weren't here for Woods Porn.
That's when I
Yeah.
went on vacation and started seeing
but it
things
was
about Twitter, like,
explained to me.
I found porn in the woods.
That's
Like,
the
what
only
happens
way.
when I'm not
That's the
here?
only way I watch a sequel to that Robin Hood is if they go into Sherwood and immediately find ye old woods porn.
what's amazing is I grew up in Los Angeles, not many woods, but what tiny bit of woods there were near my friend's house, he buried porn there. It's like maybe 10 yards worth of woods of like a tiny grove oasis, and that's where the
Amazing.
was.
Well, yeah, I think they're gonna push the "he was really singing" thing because that's something he wants to get across. He's a song and dance guy, and I don't think being in the Sing movies
It's just a voice.
cementing that for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, did he play the gorilla kid?
Yes.
Wasn't he that one?
Yes.
And sing? Yeah.
I mean, the best thing that could have happened to him was Rami Malek being so good in Bohemian Rhapsody, because like if he's as good or better than Rami Malek was, then that's automatically like Oscar
That's a win,
caliber, because they've already established the baseline of like this was good enough to win. And I love Rami Malek; I thought he was great. But then if Taron Egerton is also great, then like that's a great time to crest as far as awards. Plus, he's young, he's a good-looking kid. That's the kind of person that the Oscars want. It's a nice face to put on television. He seems very nice, by all accounts. He seems like a very lovely person.
Well, he seems too like a guy who like wants to be taken really seriously for his choices and stuff. Like,
and he's good in Kingsman.
Yeah, he's great in Kingsman. He's gonna be. I think he's the lead in the new Dark Crystal. Miniseries.
He wasn't bad in Robin Hood. The movie was bad.
Yeah, but
he
he's
wasn't
fine.
bad.
Yeah,
Jamie
yeah.
Foxx was good. He was good. That's it. But he wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So
And then I don't. Just from his choices alone, it's like I think this is a guy who's like, let me put on my big boy pants, please, and let me do a lot of cool stuff than just being pegged as like a guy who's going to do Robin Hood level action movies. Like, it ended up bad. I don't think it was the voice cast's fault, because Netflix did a Watership Down adaptation, which I feel like at one point was supposed to be a really expensive, big to-do, and then after they cast it with just a ton of A-list talent, then I think their animation budget got cut by about 90%, and so it became a very not to do. But he's really great in that, and I think that's an interesting choice for the action guy from Kingsman to be like, I would like my follow-up to be Watership Down, the bunny movie.
I mean, and it's really easy to make fun of the actors' be taken seriously section of their career, because it's like, oh yeah, you were just in the Total Recall reboot. What do you want to do now? I wanna be Ahab. It's like, oh god, come on, dude.
Where's my chance at Othello? Yeah,
it's one of the guys from the Bee Gees going, you know what? I want to spin off into something that's not. You know what I mean? And it's just the super laughable at some point.
Maurice could have pulled it off, but not Robin.
Yeah. I don't know any BG names.
We were all thinking it.
Well said, Dan.
But yeah, it's really easy to make fun of actors when they decide to go hard and go for these awards and really show their range. They didn't have the range. I love that. I actually love the bravery of when they do it. I also love when we look back later and go, "Hey, really should have tried to do that.
Yeah,
that was really ridiculous." So either way, it works out. I love that people are trying to break out of there.
Yeah, either we get something to be inspired by or something we can make fun of later on. We all win. We all win. Hey guys, you know what you'll win at? Making sure you're subscribed to Fandom. Was that good? Sorry.
No.
Nah, it was fine. SJU's our morning show every morning. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Yeah!
There
We're
we go.
killing that. We've also got some cool stuff on fandom.com for you to check out. We had a psychologist come in and sort of take a look at a lot of the character arcs in Endgame and how they sort of provide a roadmap for healing from trauma. I feel like we're getting a lot of cool mileage out of, like, we brought in a bunch of crazy experts to talk about what would happen if the snap was real and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of cool stuff. Make sure you check that out on fandom.com. And then also on Fandom Entertainment, our YouTube channel, our own Danielle Radford did a really, really cool piece about the evolution of Captain America and how that character sort of evolved to match the times and sort of respond to what's gone on in the U.S. politically. It's a great, great, great video. You should watch it. You guys want to get in some fan questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's just
Wednesday
do it.
fan questions. Nice.
Let's do it. Let's get crazy. Sometimes it's Friday when it's Wednesday. It's like a pizza bagel.
Well, yesterday it was Monday on Tuesday, so
Yeah.
we're just going to confuse everybody.
Well, it's just breakfast for dinner. Dogs and cats living together.
What? You want to submit a fan question? Get in on the community tab on our YouTube channel. That's where everybody leaves them. So make sure you get in there. Make sure you check that out and ask some questions, because that's the only place that they're valid. Nikki asked two really great questions. What actor or actress changed your opinion about them with one performance?
Well, a recent one is the Dorfmeister. It's True Detective Season 3.
Ooh.
Stephen Dorff
Okay.
is amazing in it. I didn't know Dorff could act. Dorff knows acting.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Does Dorff?
He knows golf.
Dorff knows golf.
But now he knows axe.
Dorff knows acts. The theater. He is like in that kind of Woody Harrelson role, or I don't know. It's not a one-to-one from season 1 to season 3, the character dynamics, but he is this kind of.
This is the Mahershala season, right?
Yeah, the
Season 3, okay.
Mahershala is like the singular, like focused, like is going after the guy and like damn all the politics, and he's the one like trying to moderate between Mahershala and the department and like kind of play both sides and like get ahead while also solving the case. It's a really complex character who's a little good, a little bad, and really interesting. And he plays. They have 3 different timelines, so he, much like Malcolm X, plays from 3 different stages in his life.
I've always thought.
Yeah,
I've always compared
Dorff,
Malcolm
Denzel.
X.
Yeah.
Dorff Denzel.
But yeah, I would definitely check that out. I thought that was a great bounce back from season 2 of True Detective and a revelation in Dorff form.
That's kind of nice, because if you bring up Stephen Dorff, I just pictured Deacon Frost, and that's it.
The bad guy in Blade. That's
yeah,
it.
Just in life, at home cooking breakfast for his family, just dressed as Deacon Frost.
When the sun comes up, he puts on a motorcycle helmet.
You kids get to school. Dan, you got one?
Robert Pattinson in Good Time.
Sure.
I'll talk about that one. I mean, I knew that he was capable of more, but seeing that movie, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's legit.
That's the stamp,
Like,
yeah.
He's like really, 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 really good. Because I did have an opinion of him that changed. I never watched wrestling, so I didn't know who Dave Bautista was. So when I found out that he was cast in Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, oh great, they cast a wrestler. So I thought I knew what I would expect, and he turned out to. I think he's a fantastic comedic actor.
Yeah.
And then also he was a small, tiny role in Blade Runner 2049. But he was good there. Yeah. And then Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens. I knew that he was great, but I had sort of settled into this idea that he's just this grumpy guy.
He's over it.
He's over it. He kind of phones it in now. And when he came back, did Han Solo, he was great. I'm like, the guy still got it. If he wants to, if he wants to harness it, he can still do it.
That's annoying though that the guy's got it, but he doesn't use it. Like the Adam Sandler in Funny People and. Sorry, JT, the Stallone in Copland.
Yeah. He can do it. He just doesn't choose.
They can, but they choose to have fun.
Schwarzenegger's a
Didn't
little
turn
bit
it
like
on.
that. Like he can turn it on when he wants to, but sometimes he's obviously doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's hard to get to that place, though. Like, to actually do a good acting job in a movie, so much of it is in other people's hands. Like, you can go, like... And then it can be edited as like a stupid blank look, or with a little bit of score, a little bit of a push in. All of a sudden, your stupid blank look is like, look at that steely intensity.
That's why Christian Bale got so angry about the lighting.
Well, yeah, you walk into my sight line, pal. You walk into my sight line. Why do I have to see you? I'm Christian Bale. Swear to me. It's like, oh God, Christian Bale. But I think it's just really hard to perform a whole really great performance in a movie because so much of it is out of your hands.
Sure.
And so much of it, is other people. So one actor, Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone, I didn't ever think she was a bad actress, but I thought she was this sort of empty vessel, super hot woman, unknowable, like the John Wick of women.
She's the Skinemax lady because of Basic Instinct.
Well, not even that. It was
Damn
she
good
was
in Basic Instinct.
Yeah, she's
awesome, but I'm just saying the rap.
But she's also damn good as an empty, unknowable cipher in Basic Instinct.
Mm-hmm.
She's everything to all people. Thusly, she's nothing. You know what I mean? To every character, she's their dream. Every single character she runs into, she's their dream because she's able to split it on a dime. She's like an empath, a psychopathic empath in that movie. Whereas in Casino, she's a super hot woman who's going to get the rich guy's eye, but she's also a vulnerable little 16-year-old girl who ran away from home and is under the thumb of somebody like James Woods, who is on screen and off screen quite execrable these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like the acting of those dualities. Like on her wedding day, she calls freaking James Woods' character. She calls him on her wedding day because that's how much of a Svengali hold. That's acting, bro. That Sharon Stone would be beholden to James Woods in any way, and she does a great job when she gets older and she wears like the mom haircut with the mom jeans and she still thinks she's a hot lady and she's get in my jewelry and she's just going crazy from being off coke and she's, you know what I mean? And then she gets involved with those guys and eventually bad things happen to her. It's like that whole arc from being undominable goddess to runaway girl who returns to her roots.
Yeah.
That's just a fantastic performance that I didn't think she was capable of, and that's my fault because I didn't realize that you need a great team.
Yep.
Yeah. No, the one I was thinking of was I knew Clooney was a great leading man, but I didn't know he had the capacity to be like a doofy cartoon until I saw Oh Brother Where Art Thou. And I'm pretty sure he's done. I know he had done comedy roles before. I just hadn't seen them. I just wasn't aware of them. But
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. But even as a kid, I was like, "This isn't Clooney having fun. This is Clooney in a bad movie." But his work with the Coens, like,
remember that 10-year period where his whole acting style was just shaky head.
This.
yeah, just
Like put your chin down, shake your head.
where it's just like it's my job to be handsome.
Yeah,
But then,
handsome
like,
old
the
face.
moment, like, the Soggy Bottom Boys start performing in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, I was like, oh, this is a dude that can do a lot, that can, like, drop I'm just, like, the handsome leading man guy and just do the doofy job that he needs to do. Like, he doesn't have to be liked, he doesn't have to be cool. And then, that sort of continues on in, like, Burn After Reading and his other Coen stuff where he's able to sort of be a silly cartoon. So that's sort of the first time I really recognized his range. That was not nearly as good of an answer as that amazing Sharon Stone
It's good.
launch. Nikki also asked, there are so many parts to making a movie or TV show, which we kind of touched on, Ed, with your idea of like, there's so much that makes a performance. What part of the process interests you the most?
I mean, me personally, as far as TV is the writer's medium. The reason why we know who Shonda Rhimes is because she's a showrunner, yes, but she's also the writer / showrunner on these big ass shows. You know what I mean? And the writer is a person that is revered both in theater and television. They actually have power. They actually just can't smack you up and take your show. They can't just give it to 5 other dudes that they like for no reason. You know what I mean? TV seems to be doing a little better job of protecting writers. So I have to say the writing, not for the cliche thing of, well, what if it's not on the page? It's not on the stage. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that individual vision.
Stop making fun of my voice.
I'm just saying, I got the most make funnable voice ever. But I'm just saying, like, this division to have all these moving parts and all this stuff, and to be able to schedule everybody, all these actors and all this jazz. That as a showrunner, the showrunning / writing, creating part of it, to me, is the most important part. Because you can, they have to have something to film. They have to have locations to film. They have to have actors lined up. So the person who creates the vision and then ensures that it can even be a thing, to me, that's the most important part.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing I'm most fascinated by is, if we get a cut on a video back, like I can point at a thing and be like, let's trim there, whatever. But in terms of the actual post-production editing process of even beginning to put something together, that seems like an insurmountable like, how does you? Like, I don't, my brain does not work that way. Whether it's a movie or whether it's an honest trailer, like, even if I knew how to use Premiere and our editor, who's brilliant, Kevin, sat me down and was like, here's the script, start just putting beats together. Like, my brain can't wrap around stuff like that. So that part is really fascinating to me.
It's only partially mechanical too, which is why we've had a lot of editors. I edited Honest Trailers for a while, and we had a lot. And some we lost because they went on to other work. Sometimes we would get a few and like, this is maybe. And part of the reason why sometimes you have to search and find, and we're lucky we have a great editing team now, like a fantastic team, is that it's partially mechanical. Like, you can get the best technical editor. Like, you can get somebody that you can get the guy that invented Adobe Premiere Pro behind a computer. But if they don't know the project, or if the timing is off, if they don't understand comedy, or they don't know the tone of what we're working on, then it doesn't matter, because it's not going to be right. And that's, for me, it's also editing. Shocker, I used to be an editor, so I guess that's not really that surprising. But an editor can't really make a bad thing good. Right. They can try, but an editor can damn sure make a great thing bad. If you have the best written comedy of all time, but an editor who doesn't understand what comedic timing is, this is not going to be a good movie or whatever, because that's part of it. It's not just good acting. It's like putting a puzzle together. But sometimes you think you're making a picture of a teacup, and it turns out that maybe it would be better if it was a picture of a rose instead. But to do that, you have to flip the piece. You have to flip the pieces over, and there's something on the back, and this corner piece actually goes on the top here. And sometimes you just have a jumble of pieces, and then other times you just go and you go, oh, it's done. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's fascinating to me. I know some people don't have the patience for it. I get it. Sometimes I didn't have the patience for it.
I can do it on the page, like that puzzle you're sort of talking about. Like, I can do that on a page. Spencer, just nod your head yes, as the guy who is in charge of saying whether or not I'm capable of doing that. But yeah, in terms of just looking at a project and cutting it together, I don't get it. Spencer?
Yeah. Well, those are two awesome answers that I would have chosen had they not already been chosen, writing and editing specifically. I guess the part that's really interesting to me right now at this moment in time, on both movies and television sides, is the development process. How do these companies decide what movies they're going to put out today? Because nobody knows anything. That's not new. But there used to be, I think, fewer consequences to not knowing anything, or to failure, because you were putting out 30 movies a year, and if 15 of them flopped and 10 of them broke even and 5 of them were huge hits, like that was fine.
Yeah.
And now the stakes are so high because you're making like 5 tent poles and then like 3 smaller films. So like you need to be relatively certain in a way that you never had to be before that you're doing the right thing, or otherwise like the future of your studio is at stake. Like
Right.
if you miss twice in a year, like congratulations, you're now a division of Walmart. So
I told you, man, missiles, ketchup, films.
omni consumer products.
Studios used to be their own businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be that a studio executive was a studio executive, and they were in charge of making sure that the studio was profitable. But they were not. Now
Or blackmailing Jessica Rabbit.
or blackmailing
Those two jobs.
Jessica Rabbit. One of two things: you were either playing patty cake with Jessica Rabbit, or you were making sure that movies were profitable for your studio. And now every studio is a division of a multinational conglomerate that has arms, and that you're not just servicing the studio. It's like, what does it do for our foreign division? What kind of products can we make from this movie? What is the international distribution and the sales? And well, we're in business with this company in China, so we should greenlight this movie because it might not do well here. But if we team up with Tencent in China, then we can make back our losses. And there's so many more moving parts now, and there's not nobody left in it to make it for the art, but the commerce side of it is so much a big part of it. Obviously, I would do a box office show every week. That's part of what we talk about. They're not. I think they're treated by the artists who make them and the executives that are in charge of them as art, or I would hope so.
Yeah.
But on a larger scale now, movies are products.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They are profit. It's profit, maximizing profit. What's the likelihood that it's going to turn a profit? To the people above, the ones directly involved with the movies aren't. You're not making a movie because someone liked it. You're making a movie because somebody up the top thinks that it can make you a lot of money, or you're a small enough division that they don't really care, and it's not.
They haven't noticed
stakes
you
are
yet.
low.
And to me, the interesting thing is that never used to be the assumption is that every movie would be profitable. It was a lot more on like, well, this is an interesting story. You know, I'm going to go with my gut and put the right talented people together. And if we do that enough times for as many different audiences as possible across our 30 films that we're going to come out with this year, then we'll be fine. Like some of them will be good, some of them will be bad. But now it's like, no, we've calculated whether it's through an algorithm like Netflix or Amazon, or whether it's just through the surefire IPs and sequels and stuff like that. There is now just the expectation, like, and Disney has cracked the code of like, way more of the things we put out will make so much money, will 10 times over pay for the failures. But then, you know, it's built on it's a fragile base, because when you're only putting out 8 movies a year, again, if 2 of them are flops, like if the cliff runs out of the comic book movie industry or Star Wars,
you're not gonna
or
have an
whatever,
Endgame
and they're
every
still
year.
running, they don't have all those other audiences to pick them up.
Well, I think that's the story I tried to talk about it a little bit on Charting, but like Disney hit so big when they hit so big. Billions of dollars. That's the story. Nobody really talks about the fact that the last 2 or 3 years, when Disney misses, they don't miss by this much. They miss by this much. Like Nutcracker in the Four Realms, Solo, Wrinkle in Time. They have had so many movies, Dumbo, that were huge movies that missed big. The difference is they hit so big that nobody talks about the misses because it doesn't really matter that much. But I agree. Star Wars at the end of the episodes, Marvel, we'll see what goes on from there. But like they don't. The bench is not deep. They have Marvel, some Star Wars, but also not all.
The occasional Pixar.
The occasional Pixar. You know, they have the things that can sustain them for now, but like they're not cultivating a lot of depth on the bench. And I want the version of the story. I wish Lord and Miller would have been able to do what Francis Ford Coppola did on The Godfather and just driven around with the negative of their Solo movie in the trunk of their car to prevent them to keep them from being fired. Because they were going to fire Coppola, and Coppola just put the film in this car and drove it around. He's just like, "You can't fire me!" I wish that they could. I wish we lived in an era, because I still want to see what that movie was that they didn't. That Disney said they didn't want, because. I mean, I would be shocked if it were worse than
what we got,
which wasn't awful, but just reeked of compromise.
Yeah.
To me.
It was
To me.
fine.
Well, we're in the just to wrap up my part of this. We're in the golden age of. It used to be, you see Taxi Driver, bro? You see Taxi Driver? Crazy dude. He rescues this chick, and then just nuts. Nobody wants to see Taxi Driver in the movie theater anymore. I watched that on Netflix. A quiet, meditative jerk who's sort of racist is sort of a hero and sort of a bane towards the end of it, and we get to watch his psychological deterioration. That's TV right now.
Yeah.
There's no movies about that.
We had a family outing to go see The Client. My parents couldn't wait to see The Client.
Right.
Everyone's parents.
Right. I mean, look at something like L.A. Confidential right now. L.A. Confidential would be a very big, glossy Netflix movie right now.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic cinematic experience. I love that movie. You know what I mean? So it's like we're in the age of like, you watch your smart person.
If you're a grown up, stay home.
Basically, there you go.
Yeah.
Good one. I have nothing else to say. If you're a grown up, stay home. That we're edging towards that very, very much.
Well, guys, let's close out with some more food talk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cat Dog asked, A, have you ever tried to make a type of food that you've first seen in a movie? And then B, what are the best and worst meals you've ever seen in a movie or TV? I don't know. Never tried to. We have the Game of Thrones cookbook, and it all looks insane.
Yeah,
And,
mutton pie or something.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Boiled leather.
Yeah, it's sitting right on our shelf next to
eat.
Cooking with Coolio, which I highly recommend.
I was told when I was younger that we were watching I was watching Kramer versus Kramer on TV with my mom, and they were making French toast, and I said I want that,
Right,
and
yeah.
so we made French toast.
Solid.
French toast truthers.
French toast. We're back to breakfast. That's how we.
pancakes versus waffles.
It's a whole
Don't
thing.
worry about it.
That's how we got to when I was a kid to making French toast. Because my mom always said she saw. I think it was Kramer versus Kramer. She's like, oh yeah, you saw it on TV and you wanted it. So, but I don't know if I've ever seen anything on television and been like,
That you're like, hell
I'm
yeah.
gonna make that. Other than like, oh, they're eating pizza. I
Yeah.
want pizza.
Yeah.
I'm gonna order pizza.
Sure. Yeah, the pizza in Home Alone 2 looked pretty good. Probably had pizza after
Yeah,
that.
that was a solid one.
I definitely made, when I was like 17, the underage drinking, arrest him, Spider-Man, was White Russians, because I love the Big Lebowski, and I didn't.
Yep,
when
that's
you
true.
don't know what else to order, you just
You're like,
go
White
for,
Russian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You just make drinks that you saw in the movie. Like,
Shaken, not
a
stirred.
lot of cream.
That's a pretty. That's not a wide bullseye on the White Russian though.
They're like, sir, it's August in Los Angeles.
I was big on those.
Like I knew the difference. It was just like, that's an alcohol.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
alcohol.
that's an
One
alcohol.
Yeah. That's,
Well, speaking of one alcohol, I used to try to. I don't want to. Respectability politics be damned. I used to try to drink 40 ounces just because, like, come on, I got to drink a 40. Like, there's St. Ides.
What
there
happened?
was-
You couldn't-
What's it called?
Mickey's?
Couldn't pull it off?
At the age I was doing it, that wasn't what you're supposed to be. 40 ounces of alcohol for the fat kid who
stomach.
can barely stay on a skateboard. No, that's not a good move. That's not a good move. So yeah, and it was so hella bulky, like it wouldn't quite fit in your pocket. It wouldn't quite fit in your book bag. It's like it was really trash.
there's a window at which it is both legally and physiologically appropriate to drink 40s, and that is from age 21 to age 23.
Exactly.
And that's it. After that, it's bad news.
I agree with Dan.
You can't go back. You can't reverse it. You have a 2-year window, and that's it.
Short
You're in
40
trouble.
window for sure.
Yeah, if you're able to rent a car, you don't Edward 40 hands ever at any time, or you have a problem. Yeah, that guy has a problem. I can't think of food that like I was like, yeah, that. But I know that the food scene in Hook just always made me hungry. Just even before
paste.
even before the blue goop was in the bowls, there was just something about like the wood spoon hitting the wood bowl that I would just be like, man, I want some soup. Like right now,
Okay.
I drink a good soup.
All right.
And then I always hum. Don't know much about history if I'm at like a buffet because of Animal House where he's just putting everything onto his tray. But yeah, I can't think of anything that I'm like, that's tasty.
Yeah.
I hate food gags on TV and movies. Like if people get food dumped on them, I don't know. That I have a visceral response to that.
Oh, yeah,
on
the-
MasterChef Junior, they dump food on the kids all the time, and I'm just like, no, stop dumping creamed
Well, yeah,
corn on children.
the-
It makes me, I just don't like it. It grosses me out.
That is weird. I have a whole texture issue. Cream corn in
Yeah.
general is a no-go for me.
Yeah. I just, whenever people have food dumped on them, I just think about it in my collar. and then like up under my
Yeah,
glasses.
no, yeah.
And, like, you know, it's just like, come on, dude,
Yeah.
stop.
You
Like, why
find
would
it-
you do that?
find
The
it-
hose again.
This is not funny enough for this.
Yeah, no.
This cleanup,
No.
this is not funny enough for
Yeah.
this.
And it's a lazy joke.
What can't you say on television? What was that old show?
can't do that on
You can't do
television.
that on
On
television.
television.
Like, I don't know. I hated
it's like-
that. And with food though, it's even worse because it's like, and I hate when like they mess up the continuity on food in movies. You know what I mean? We did a video about that a while back. The Pretty Woman, she's eating a pancake and then she puts it down.
right.
She's eating some toast. She puts it back
Yeah.
down. She got a strawberry. Put it back down. She got a gun. It's like, what are you doing?
No one eats like this. Either
That
you
is
go
true.
clockwise.
If you
Kinda
love the
lazy
magic,
Susan.
if you love the magic of movies, never watch them closely during any food scene because the bites will change, the food, the
Except
water
for
levels on the
The
glasses.
Social Network, Army Hammer has to eat like 700 double burgers because Fincher's a crazy person just had them keep refreshing
Oh,
a
yeah,
brand
yeah.
new burger, take a new bite every time.
Oh man. Yeah.
I like the burger
burgers.
wrangler right off camera. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if that guy's credited there. Which brings us
Well,
back
there
to
is a
editing.
spit bucket. That's the other thing. If you like watching people eat on movies, just realize that once they yell cut, most people are yakking that stuff.
Into
Yep,
a bucket.
You see people
Yep,
bite
yep.
in movies, you will rarely see them swallow food in movies, and that's because they'll say cut, and there's a gross, dirty, nasty bucket of chewed up food at their feet because they all just go,
And a PA whose job it is to clean it.
Yeah, remember that next time you watch Pretty Woman, there's a strawberry and
There's
a pancake and a gun.
Yes, sir, Mr. Marshall. He's got a big bucket of chum from Jaws. basically.
over there, Julie's gonna spit out the pancake.
Chum from Julia Roberts. His nickname on set was Jaws.
I don't think we can end better than Chum from Julia Roberts, guys. That's our show. We released so much stuff last week. Please check it out. Dan did a great episode of charting on Aladdin, the honest trailer for Men in Black. I did a video essay on Avengers: Death on the Big Screen versus comics. Danielle again did Evolution of Captain America. We did the Snap IRL. Dan's Godzilla review was up. Dan's Brightburn and Booksmart reviews are up. Watching Thrones, they did a whole series overview of, and we gave Michelle Boyd a nice send-off. Again, thank you so much for going on the weird Game of Thrones journey with us. Movie Fights ended up being a weird one-on-one because we had a last-minute cancellation between Emma Fyffe and Julia Prescott, which I didn't realize I needed, and it's great and weird and fun. And then SJU, we've done Art of Finales, Best of Action Movies, we talked Picard. And that's just last week. It was a busy week. Check out those videos, share those videos, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Nope.
Wait, no.
No.
Oh, God.
We're
no.
not.
Jesus.
Don't end the
Thank
show,
you.
JT.
Look, I had this page like this, and so segment was covered. Oh, God.
Oh, more stuff we're doing. This
Our old
is awesome.
Eric Goldman went to the Ma junket. Check it out.
So I'm here from Fandom, and I'm going to ask you some questions from the fans.
Okay.
Starting out with high hopes for this one. Octavia Spencer can do no wrong in my book. Is this the birth of the new Queen of Horror?
I don't know. Ma is definitely a unique character. You guys want to party like rock stars?
How creepy is Octavia Spencer with her glare in this film? I say 100%.
Yeah, the glare.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's into your soul.
Yeah.
Catches you too.
She did it. She would do a glare, and then peel off, and it
Yeah.
really was scary.
On a glare alone, she can make you go, ooh.
Yeah, when she hugs you and
Yes.
she just dead eyes at Maggie. I mean, so good.
Did Octavia find it difficult to get into the headspace of such a seemingly possessive person? And where did she draw that dark inspiration from?
I watch a lot of true crime. See, the thing is, when you're playing a character, they don't necessarily know that they're dark. All they see is the rejection and the need. I gotta keep reaching out. Are you guys mad at me for something?
I don't want to hang out at Ma's anymore.
Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone. In her mind, she gave them and they rejected her. And well, then everything else is off the table. Hey guys.
That bitch is crazy.
What's it like working in horror, and were there moments you got scared, and how did you deal with it?
I never opened up to you guys, but I was actually really scared at one point because, I mean, you can see in the trailer, like, we have the dog collars on.
Yeah.
When I got up at one point and I forgot I had it on, I was like, oh, and I was like, oh my God, I like had a little mini panic attack.
Really?
But I didn't want you guys to think less of me, so I didn't tell you.
To us.
Okay. I'm
He would have comforted you.
Yeah, I'm talking to.
We have a support
Fandom,
now.
and-
We all have
Yeah.
PTSD.
There was that moment.
Yeah.
There was this moment. You've seen the movie, I'm assuming. So when I had to do the
But
hang.
don't give it away too much.
Oh,
What?
so
It's
during
more
that
later
one
in the
scene, there
film.
was this one scene
Uh-huh.
later
When a
in the
thing
film.
happens.
A thing happens to little old Maggie. And I just got it became too real for me. And Juliet and I went for a walk outside, and
To
Juliet.
get some fresh air.
Yeah.
It's a hard genre to play in those textures
Yeah.
of like
Right.
sobbing and, you know,
Yeah.
and fighting for your life, but it's also why we play in
Yeah,
emotion.
it's like a cathartic release.
Well, kind of on the flip side of that is the next fan question, who asks, "What was the funniest thing that happened on set?"
I
Where to
think
begin?
Octavia is so funny. Her dance moves.
Everything she does, she's just so much fun.
I think when you're doing horror, the majority of it feels like a comedy because you're laughing all the time.
Who had the fake spider that was hiding it around to scare people?
Oh, I don't
Or
remember
the
that.
snake. It was a
Jared.
snake.
Jared
It
was
was
doing-
Jared.
that's Jared.
Yeah, there was just a lot of messing around with each other and someone pulling pranks. Take a look at
Who is your horror movie inspiration? And they say can be an actor, actress, director, or writer. I'll throw in, or a movie itself.
Stephen King. Stephen King's a genius. He, to me, created the horror genre. Like, for me, I mean, I read his books growing up.
Show.
Like,
He did. Yeah,
I
he
mean,
wrote that.
he's
yeah.
like a mastermind. And Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, the two of them are just geniuses.
I loved The Exorcist. That one still creeps me out. Paranormal Activity. Anything paranormal freaks me out.
Was it Twilight Zone where the creature
Twilight
on the
Zone.
plane?
Yeah, yeah.
When they look
Same here.
I love the original 1978 Halloween.
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
Scream.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite. I actually watched it like a couple nights ago because I did an interview with Jamie Kennedy, and I was like, yeah, I kind of like it's like my phone case. And then I was like, I remember recording him. He's like, "You're a Scream fan." I was like, "Oh, this is embarrassing."
Oh, I am obsessed with The Shining, which is like such a classic. But I also am a huge fan of Blumhouse movies. They have made such a path in horror and like created it themselves with Paranormal Activity and then reinvented the wheel again with Get Out. And so everything they do is like, okay, how can we push it this way? How can we push it this way? And they're
I think what Jason Blum, how he has reinvigorated the horror genre is, I think we all owe him a lot.
Working on this movie, what do you think it is the secret to Blumhouse's success?
Jason Blum is brilliant.
Jason Blum is
I
brilliant.
think he picks like
Jason Blum
because
picks great
a lot
movies.
of like the films being made nowadays, there's so much extra stuff going on, like CGI and all this stuff. It's like I think he really showed that like you don't need that. You just need these character-driven stories that are like interesting and fun.
Yeah.
And then that's what's getting made. You
And
don't
I
feel
feel like
$20 million.
and
for
they're
CGI.
doing so much stuff. I feel like he's giving people chances
Yeah.
to do
Yeah,
things.
and he's giving them a
he
chance to be creative.
Didn't
too.
Jordan Peele said that like so many people passed on Get Out? Like he tried to get that made for so long,
Right.
and now look what it did.
Yeah, they're not afraid to take chances.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Very
Jason's
ballsy
great.
over there.
This is the most fun I've had in a long time.